to call the meeting to order. This is the June 29th, 2021 Rainbow District School Board regular board meeting.
Can you just hold? Chair Doer, can you just wait a sec? We're having a sound check problem.
To recognize the inherent rights of the Anishinaabe that maintain these lands from time immemorial. We'll begin the meeting with roll call. Director Blazik.
Trustee Dubosky.
Present.
Trustee St. Jean is absent. Trustee Gibson.
Present.
Trustee Cosmerly.
Present.
Trustee Morrison.
Present.
Trustee Doer.
Present.
Trustee Hunda.
Present.
Trustee Stringer.
Present.
Trustee Clement.
Present.
Student Trustee LaFrance.
Present.
Okay. Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Approval of agenda, that the agenda for the regular board meeting of June 29th, 2021 be approved. Moved by Trustee Dubosky, seconded by Trustee Cosmerly. Director Blazik.
Trustee Clement.
Yes.
Trustee Dubosky.
In favor.
Trustee Doer.
In favor.
Trustee Gibson.
In favor.
Trustee Hunda.
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly.
In favor.
Trustee Morrison.
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean, absence. Trustee Stringer.
In favor.
Student Trustee LaFrance.
In favor.
Carried.
Preliminary declarations of pecuniary interest. Presentations. Director Blazik, I'm going to allow you to introduce this very special presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Doer and trustees. As you know, the Rainbow District School Board values student voice. The student trustee, therefore, brings an important perspective to the board table. This past school year, that voice came to us virtually via Ava LaFrance from Confederation Secondary School. Ava engaged in a discussion and shared insight from the Student Senate. In the process, she gained leadership skills and got a first-hand look at democracy in action. When Ava began her term as student trustee, she said it would give her more responsibility, a stronger voice for students, and an opportunity to be a role model. Fortunately, being student trustee had the desired result. Ava says a highlight was the realization of how impactful the experience was and how much she grew. Having the Student Senate Conference became a reality, which marked a pivotal moment. It was gratifying to see students from across Rainbow schools come together online to stand up for equity and inclusion. Student voice promotes positivity and participation in schools, she said. And when one student is heard, it compels others to speak up, and more students become engaged. In her role as student trustee, Ava also represented Rainbow District School Board at the provincial level as a member of the Ontario Student Trustees Association, otherwise known as OSTA. Her voice, therefore, had an impact beyond Rainbow schools. In the fall, Ava has her sights on attending Carleton University for global and international students with a concentration in globalization and the environment. As for her future career aspirations, they vary. Ava says she enjoys doing many things, so choosing one career path will be difficult. So far, she has it narrowed down to the nonprofit sector, the federal government or the legal field, and gradually starting to work in politics. No doubt, Ava's time as student trustee may have inspired her in many more ways than one. Regardless of your path, Ava, we wish you the best of success in your future, and thank you for your contribution to Rainbow Schools. Ava. And as well, we do have a gift for you. So when we get to see you, we'll make sure that we're able to pass this off to you as well. So thank you so much for all that you've done. Here's a virtual handshake.
Thank you. I really appreciate those kind words. But if I could have just a moment to thank all of you for allowing me to have this opportunity to learn and grow as a person and as a student. And I just want to say that I know Michael is going to be amazing next year, and he's going to continue all the hard work we've done in Student Senate this year and just make it even better than it was. And also thank you, Superintendent Noble, for everything that you've done for me and being a really amazing mentor. I appreciate it all. And thank you.
Well, Ava, we are applauding your efforts virtually since we cannot do it in person. But every trustee is very eager to let you know how much your term as student trustee has meant to our board. So thank you again. Director Blazek, we're going to ask you to introduce the presentation, the second presentation, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this evening, we are going to bring you an update regarding the summer programs. So we have both Superintendent Wachnock and Superintendent Noble. And to start us off, we will have Superintendent Wachnock.
Good evening. Once again this year, the Ministry of Education has provided priority and partnership funding, PPF, to school boards for special education summer services and summer transition programs, for which Rainbow received approximately $164,000. This funding is being used to provide special education support staff for students with special needs within all Rainbow summer programs that are being offered, including the Code Summer Learning Program, Summer School, and our own intervention programs, and also to provide opportunities for students requiring a transition back to school in August. I will provide more detail on these supports throughout this presentation. Special education staffing supports for summer programming have been allocated to provide additional staffing to the Code Summer Learning Program and to summer school credit courses. Special education has provided funding for 2 educational assistants and 1 special education resource teacher for the Code Summer Learning Program, and 2 educational assistants and 1 special education resource teacher for summer school at Sudbury Secondary. Speech and language assessments will be offered to students over the summer months and conducted at the board office by our own speech and language pathologists. Students will be prioritized for these assessments based on need. Our goal is to complete approximately 30 speech and language assessments throughout the summer. These assessments will provide valuable information to support student programming upon their return to school. The summer program for special education has been organized by Colleen McDonald, Principal of Special Education, and David Scarzolo, our Principal of Special Education for summer programs. David will be responsible for the implementation and supervision of the summer intervention program that is being offered from July 5th to July 30th in a virtual format. Once again, the summer program was designed for students requiring remediation to narrow achievement gaps in reading and in math. Students are provided with the opportunity to participate in one or more of the following interventions: IXL Math, Lexia Reading, and Small Group Reading Intervention, LLI. The purpose of the summer intervention program is to narrow achievement gaps in reading and in math, and also to limit summer learning loss. 10 teachers have been hired to work with 80 students who have registered. The ASD Summer Skills Development Program is a 3-week program for students with autism that teach social and life skills using the techniques and strategies of applied behavior analysis. Sessions run during the morning or afternoon on the weeks of July 5th, 12th, 19th, and August 9th, 16th, and 23rd. Participants are divided into groups based on age, kindergarten to grade 4, grades 5 to 8, and grades 9 to 12 plus. The program is for students who can tolerate group instruction, participate verbally and physically, and have independent skills such as toileting and hand washing. The program is developed by staff holding certification with the Behavior Analysis Certification Board and supported by our own mental health team. 23 students have registered for the programs located at the Ruth McMillan Center and at Larchwood Public School. The transition back to school plans were developed by school administrators to meet the needs of the specific students within their buildings. The programs range from one-day visits with family members to students attending school for several days. School staff will be at the school to welcome students and offer a range of opportunities to support their transition back into the building. The goal of the transition program is to alleviate anxiety about the return to school, familiarize students with staff, their classroom, and other areas of the school, and of course, to introduce routine and structure to begin the reintegration back to in-person learning. Where needed, and at the school's request, the schools were provided with a budget for transportation in order to ensure equity of opportunity. This summer, our mental health team will be engaged in the development of programs and services for the upcoming school year. These projects are varied and will be completed under the supervision of our mental health lead. With over 3,000 respondents to a survey and a series of open-ended questions, there is a lot of data to correlate. A thematic analysis of this data will be completed. In addition, our ABA and mental health teams are planning to work together in the early intervention classroom this fall. This work is to create the mental health in-service that will be provided throughout the year to all staff in the early intervention classrooms. This is a pilot program for the social emotional program at Sudbury Secondary School. The goal of this program is to provide experiential learning that is a learning by doing approach to teach important life skills to assist students to better manage their mental health and to acquire more effective interpersonal skills. This work will be enhanced through the creation of a parent support group. Our social worker who supports Manitoulin Island schools will attend the VITRA, Violent Threat Risk Assessment training specific to Indigenous populations, and will support the VITRA process on the schools, in the schools on the island next school year. Our mental health lead and one social worker will attend the training related to the creation of trauma-informed schools. They will use this training to support ongoing professional development throughout the school year. One of our social workers is trained in TheraPlay, and they will enhance their training this summer with the addition of the Sunshine Circle training. This social worker will provide training to the mental health team as well as pilot the Sunshine Circle program in our schools. In keeping with our goal of an integrated wellness awareness program supporting student success, we are creating a user-friendly calendar. The calendar will incorporate mental health themes, Indigenous teachings, Pride and Inclusion Days, and ideas for wellness for all. 2 years ago, the board supported emotion-focused family therapy training for our team. One of our new staff will take this training online this summer to enhance his work with Rainbow Families. Our social worker at Sudbury Secondary School is creating a new program to facilitate in the social emotional classroom in the fall. Upon completion of the program, it will be adapted and will be able to be implemented in the section classrooms at Espanola High School and at Manitoulin Secondary School. Finally, the last project is related to the standardization of documentation and clinical practice. With the adoption of Aspen, the mental health team will now have an electronic case management system. Creating a standard system for documentation will connect with the Aspen system. On the morning of the first day of professional learning this fall, Dr. Ungar will show that resilience is much more than just personal ruggedness in the face of adversity. It is instead a reflection of how well individuals, families, educators, and employers work together to create opportunities for us to find our way to the resources we need for well-being, while making those resources available in ways that we experience as meaningful. The outcomes include: show that resilience involves being both rugged and resourced, discuss the 12 factors associated with resilience, and identify strategies individuals can use to make themselves more resilient, even during times of extreme stress. As part of our professional development plan, every educator will receive a copy of the book entitled The Teacher's Guide to Trauma, as well as all of the trustees. PLEO, Parent Lifeline of Eastern Ontario program, offers family peer support for parents through parent support groups. In the groups, parents share information and learn from one another and come together as a community. There will be 7 groups in which parents can participate this summer, 2 of which are funded by Rainbow District School Board. All 7 groups are open to parents and caregivers in Rainbow District School Board. Judy Noble will continue to present the remaining plans for summer programs. Thank you.
Once again, CODE has provided funding for our summer learning program. $110,000 will provide 7 classes for students this summer to learn virtually. We currently have 105 students registered, exactly the same number of students that registered last summer. We have 49 students in the primary division. We have 40 students registered in the junior division and 16 students registered in the intermediate division. Our focus areas this summer include quantity and operational sense in numeracy, and in primary we're working on decoding in reading and comprehension in the junior intermediate divisions. Our secondary summer school program will once again be happening at Adult Education Sudbury Secondary School site. We have currently 38 students who are registered for credit recovery and upgrading. We have 116 students registered for e-learning. Most of the courses being offered this summer are senior English and senior math and senior science, with 1 junior section of civics and careers. And finally, our co-op has 190 students who are registered, and there will be 7 sections of co-op offered this summer. We also have summer program over at Cecil Facer Summer School. There will be 2 sessions running. The second one will be one of our face-to-face summer school programs, and that will be happening in August. Our second face-to-face summer learning program will be our kindergarten camp, where we have over 370 students already registered, and it will be offered face-to-face in 25 sites. And that's it for our update. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm looking to see if there are any questions, follow-up. Trustee Stringer.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Superintendent Noble. The learning taking place for the summer program for secondary, which is based out of, I understand, Sudbury Secondary School, which is now plans in July to be virtual. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so as a virtual site, which it has pivoted to from an in-person, I think in your online it indicated that if we had to go to remote, this would be the plan to do this virtually. So on Manitoulin Island, I'm just wondering if we have any registrations, or are people aware that would be available now since we've now pivoted to virtual?
Yes, we have an entire class of face-to-face co-op happening on Manitoulin Island. So there's a teacher dedicated to support students on the island. And as well, any students who have registered through e-learning would be going through the virtual learning environment, same as any other student. And any students registered for credit recovery or upgrading would be learning remotely through the same teacher as a student in any other area of the board. So yes, we have students registered in all facets of our secondary summer program.
Thank you. And supplementary, Madam Chair. So those students that are wanting to do that, are they still able to register at this point?
Yes, they are. Today was our day for promotion meetings in our secondary schools, so I do anticipate there was a number of registrations that happened today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Trustee Hunda.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just want to start by saying how very thankful I am that we offer these programs to our students. I'm thankful every year. Probably during this time, I think it's probably more needed than ever. I want to thank both Superintendent Noble and Superintendent Wachnick for making sure that these programs happen. Having had children that have partaken into these programs, I can tell you firsthand how successful they are, and they do actually I'm more experienced in the elementary level, but they really truly have an impact and make a difference. You know, I'm about 2 years through now, and it's certainly had tremendous impact on my special needs grandchildren. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm very, very excited to hear we're having plus 300 new little ones coming into our system. That's always good news for our board. That's very exciting. And I'm very pleased at the high school programs. I think that's where I saw with my family where the major struggle was. I'm kind of surprised that our credit recovery isn't a little bit larger, and I hope that speaks to how our secondary students were able to negotiate and the famous word pivot and be successful in mostly remote settings. And I hope it speaks to that and not to a lack of interest in them taking part in summer school. I guess my question would be to Superintendent Noble, I guess, were you a little surprised that we didn't have a little more students involved in credit recovery considering the unique times we've just been through?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Hunda. I did notice that we had 50 students less overall registering in the summer program. So our uptake this year is down from last year. It has been a trend over the past 5 years that fewer and fewer students are registering in credit recovery. Last year was the first year that students were allowed to upgrade. Typically, to register in credit recovery, you had to have failed the course, but last year the ministry did provide the opportunity for students to increase their grade. They didn't have to have failed to retake this course through upgrading. So I'm not surprised at the low numbers in credit recovery and upgrading. I do notice that overall our enrollment in secondary is down, and I do feel that students are very tired at this time after a year and a half of pandemic remote learning. It's not been easy on them, so I do see that in our registrations.
Yeah, I believe that too. Thank you very much, though, and again, I thank you all for the programs, like outstanding.
Thank you very much for the questions, and thank you again to the presenters. Are there any other questions? I don't see anybody on.
Trustee DeBoski had her hand up.
I have no pictures of anybody on my screen right now, so thank you very much. Trustee DeBoski.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. My only question is in relation to the registered students that were described. How many of those registered students are Indigenous learners?
I do not have that data, as the only data I have is initial, just overall counts of students for the approval of the courses themselves. I do not have data dissected in any way or disaggregated in any way. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Trustee DeBoski, through you, Madam Chair. I don't have that data either for our programs for directed at special education services. However, what I can offer is that we do have plans to report back to you in the fall on our summer programs. And so that is something that we can bring back to you at that time so that you have those numbers.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make sure that you understand I have no, my screen does not show anyone. So I appreciate it, Dina, if you would help, or anybody who has to speak or has a question, you're going to have to indicate it either with the hand that is located on the screen, or you're just going to have to speak out, because I have no way of knowing if someone puts up their hand. I don't know why my screen is like that. Any other questions before we move on? Thank you very much. Report from the in-camera committee of the whole meeting of the board. Director Blazik.
Madam Chair, the motion that the report from the in-camera committee of the whole board meeting of June 29th, 2021 be received.
Moved by, I can't see anybody's hands.
I'll move it. Chair Dewar, it's Dina.
Moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by
Bob.
Trustee Clement. Poll vote, Director Blazik.
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee DeBoski,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Honda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee St. Jean is absent, Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee LaFrance, okay, it's carried.
Thank you very much. The motion is carried. Previous minutes. Motion that the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021 be approved. Moved by
Judy K.
Trustee Cosmerly, seconded by
Judy H.
Trustee Hunda. Poll vote, Director Blazik. I'm going to hand this over to Trustee Morrison. I'm going to leave and try to get back on because my screen is completely blank.
Can you wait until after the vote, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
And I don't have, okay. It's
Trustee
going to get-
Clement,
In favor.
Trustee DeBoski,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Honda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
St. Jean is absent, Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
carried.
Thank you very much. Motion is carried. That's okay, Dina. I'll just stick with this for a while longer. Motion that the minutes of the board meeting budget held on Tuesday, June the 8th, 2021 be approved. Moved by
Bob C.
And Dina?
moved by trustee Clement, seconded by trustee Morrison. Poll vote, Director Blazik,
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Dubowski,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
in favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Honda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor.
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
carried.
The motion is carried. A call on Director Blazik to, for the 2020-2021 school year update, and I will leave and be back as soon as possible. Director Blazik.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Trustees, this presentation brings to a close the series of updates that I have provided throughout the 2020-2021 school year. When we reopened the schools for in-person learning last fall, we knew our journey could include a few detours along the way as we continue to respond to COVID-19. After all, we were heading down a road never traveled brought on by circumstances that none of us had ever experienced. That is a global pandemic. Despite the detours, we made it to our destination. And here we are, on the last day of school, safe and sound. To begin, I would like to congratulate our graduates. They had the distinction of having spent the entire school year living and learning in the midst of a global pandemic. Like all of our students, they were presented with a new reality and had to adapt. They also had to be flexible and resilient as they were called upon to shift between in-person and at-home learning. Adaptability, flexibility, resiliency. These are life skills that students will always be able to draw on. So I begin this evening by extending, on behalf of all of us, a sincere congratulations to all graduates. We are so proud of you, and we wish you the very best as you continue your journey in learning and in life. As you know, our schools hosted virtual graduations over the past month, and they went that extra mile to personalize the moment, making it meaningful and memorable for students. I would like to thank our school administrators and staff for their hard work in preparing these celebrations. They pulled out all the stops, including the mascots, and displayed tremendous creativity in ensuring students were recognized for their success. Thank you for making this milestone so special for students and families. Now, I will continue where we left off the last time I provided an update to the board. The local case counts continue to decline. From Thursday, May 13th to Wednesday, May 19th, there were 29 new cases and 5 active outbreaks. 15 new cases tested positive for a variant of concern, which is 52% of the cases reported in this period. At end of day, May 19th, there were 48 active cases and a total of 2,061 local cases since the pandemic began. A total of 892 have screened positive for a variant of concern. On Thursday, May 20th, the Ontario government, in consultation with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, released its roadmap to reopen, a 3-step plan to gradually lift public health measures based on the province-wide vaccination rate and improvements in key public health and healthcare indicators. In response to recent improvements to these indicators, Ontario allowed more outdoor recreational amenities to reopen with restrictions in place effective May 22nd. Ontario's roadmap to reopen outlines 3 steps to easing public health measures. The province will remain in each step for at least 21 days to evaluate any impacts on key public health and health system indicators. If, at the end of the 21 days, vaccination thresholds have been met, along with positive trends in other key public health and health system indicators, then the province will move to the next step. Here are the steps in vaccination thresholds. Step 1, an initial focus on resuming outdoor activities with smaller crowds where the risk of transmission is lower and permitting retail with restrictions. This includes allowing outdoor gatherings of up to 10 people, outdoor dining with up to 4 people per table, and non-essential retail at 15% capacity. 60% of adults vaccinated with 1 dose. Step 2, further expanding outdoor activities and resuming limited indoor services with small numbers of people where face coverings are worn. This includes outdoor gatherings of up to 25 people, outdoor sports and leagues, overnight camps, personal care services where face coverings can be worn and with capacity limits, as well as indoor religious services, rites or ceremony gatherings at 15% capacity. 70% of adults vaccinated with 1 dose and 20% vaccinated with 2 doses. Step 3, expanding access to indoor settings with restrictions, including where there are a larger number of people and where face coverings can't always be worn. This includes indoor sports and recreational fitness, including dining, museums, art galleries, and libraries, and casinos and bingo halls with capacity limits. 70 to 80% of adults vaccinated with 1 dose and 25% vaccinated with 2 doses. Despite the roadmap to reopen being released, no information was provided on the status of schools. All publicly funded and private elementary and secondary schools in the province will continue to operate under teacher-led remote learning for the time being. Provincial and local medical experts, including the Chief Medical Officer of Health and other public officials, will be consulted and use the most recent and relevant data to determine if it would be safe to resume in-person learning. Of course, education continued amidst the pandemic, including special events. The Canada-wide Science Fair was held from May 17th to the 21st, and Rainbow students garnered top honors. 3 students from Llewellyn Park Secondary School earned Excellence Awards. Carrie Yang, grade 11, earned a Silver Excellence Award in the senior division for her project, Reversal of Bacteria-Driven Colorectal Cancer Cell Growth by Dandelion Root Extracts. Annika Matouche, grade 10, received the Bronze Excellent Award in the intermediate division for her project, Cleaning Up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, designing a sustainable solution using pyrolysis. Edward Chang, grade 10, captured Bronze Excellence Award in the intermediate division for his project, Autonomous Prevention of Bus Overcrowding and Mass Detection. Carrie, Annika, and Edward continue to make us very proud. We have some of Canada's best and brightest young scientists within our community. Each student offered practical solutions to real-life problems with promising results. I know you had the pleasure of hearing from the students at a recent meeting, and join me in extending to them our heartfelt congratulations. On Saturday, May 22nd, Public Health Sudbury Districts announced that it was working with area school boards, First Nations, and urban Indigenous partners to schedule special COVID-19 vaccine clinics for youths and families. The initiative is part of the provincial plan to offer both doses of vaccine to youth aged 12 to 17 by the end of August. The province also announced that starting Sunday, May 23rd at 8 a.m., the provincial booking system, which would be open to all youth aged 12 and over to book an appointment to receive the vaccine. The Youth and Family Initiative scheduled in June means that everyone who wishes to receive a vaccine will have the opportunity to do so. From Thursday, May 20th to Wednesday, May 26th, there were 19 new cases and 5 active outbreaks. 10 new cases tested positive for a variant of concern, which is 53% of the cases reported in this period. At the end of the day, May 26th, there were 31 active cases and a total of 2,079 local cases since the pandemic began. A total of 912 have screened positive for a variant of concern. From Thursday, May 27th to Wednesday, June 2nd, there were 19 new cases and 5 active outbreaks. 14 new cases tested positive for a variant of concern, which is 74% of the cases reported in this period. At the end of the day, June 2nd, there were 32 active cases and a total of 2,098 local cases since the pandemic began. A total of 931 have screened positive for the variant of concern. The local medical officer of health and directors of education issued a joint letter on June 1st about the youth and family clinics. All letters are posted on the board website for ease of reference. On Wednesday, June 2nd, the Premier announced that remote learning would continue for the remainder of the school year. This will allow the province to accelerate COVID-19 vaccinations to support a safer summer and return to in-person learning in September for the 2021-2022 school year. The goal is to ensure that students can look forward to a return to normal and enjoy outdoor and extracurricular activities as soon as it is safe to do so. The announcement didn't end there. The Premier also raised the possibility of in-person outdoor graduation ceremonies where physical distancing is possible. I will address this later in the presentation. Here's the letter that we sent home to parents and guardians regarding the status of the school year. From Thursday, June 3rd to Wednesday, June 9th, there were 12 new cases and 1 active outbreak. 6 new cases tested positive for a variant of concern, which is 50% of the cases reported in this period. At the end of day, June 9th, there were 25 active cases and a total of 2,110 local cases since the pandemic began. A total of 938 have screened positive for a variant of concern. On Monday, June 7th, the province announced it would move into step 1 of its roadmap to reopen on Friday, June 11th, a few days ahead of schedule. This was based on the province-wide vaccination rate and continuing improvements in key public health and health system indicators. In order to safely enter step 1 of the roadmap to reopen, Ontario needed to have vaccinated 60% of adults with at least 1 dose for 2 weeks or longer, ensuring the first dose offers a strong level of protection against COVID-19. As of June 6th, 72% of the 18-plus population in Ontario had received at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine, with over 10 million doses having been administered. Also on Monday, June 7th, we sent a letter home with students in grades 6 to 12 about opportunities to be vaccinated at school clinics, mass clinics, or specific school sites for students who required accommodations. On our Facebook and website page, we began sharing a few graphics to raise awareness. Let's do this. To get back to this. And this. And so on. The Ministry of Education released the long-awaited Grade 9 D-Stream math curriculum on Wednesday, June 9th. This new course will be implemented in classrooms across the province starting in September 2021. Students will no longer be able to select applied or academic math in grade 9, leaving all options open. The new math course builds on the 2020 elementary math curriculum to better support successful student transitions from elementary to secondary school. The new course is designed to be inclusive of all students by offering opportunities for them to build a solid foundation in mathematics and to broaden their knowledge and skills. As I mentioned earlier, when the Premier confirmed that students would be learning remotely for the balance of the school year, he also raised the possibility of outdoor graduations for every grade, no less. We very quickly realized that we would not be able to make this happen. In fact, doing so would contravene the reopening guidelines. As you know, I surveyed our schools to see how they were augmenting their virtual graduations. I shared some examples with you at the board meeting on June 8th and at the beginning of my update this evening. Confident that our students would be recognized appropriately and safely, I sent a letter home to parents and guardians on June 9th indicating that virtual graduations would continue. On Friday, June 11th, Public Health provided a letter to send home to parents and guardians with details about the school vaccination clinics and mass clinics. In recent weeks, the case counts have started to climb a bit. From Thursday, June 10th to Wednesday, June 16th, there were 16 new cases and 1 active outbreak. 6 new cases tested positive for a variant of concern, which is 37.5% of the cases reported in this period. At the end of day, June 16th, there were 20 active cases and a total of 2,126 local cases since the pandemic began. A total of 946 have screened positive for a variant of concern. From Thursday, June 17th to Wednesday, June 23rd, there were 27 new cases and 1 active outbreak. 18 new cases tested positive for a variant of concern, which is 66.7% of the cases reported in this period. At the end of day, June 23rd, there were 35 active cases and a total of 2,153 local cases since the pandemic began. A total of 967 have screened positive for a COVID-19 variant of concern. The data tells us that we cannot be complacent. On Monday, June 21st, we invited our staff to share their feedback on remote learning. While we remain hopeful the new school year will bring with it a sense of normalcy, health and safety will continue to guide decision-making. The input from our educators will enable us to make improvements to remote learning as required for this fall. With the school year quickly coming to a close, we sent a letter to parents and guardians on Monday, June 21st, about returning devices, retrieving personal belongings, and report cards. On Tuesday, June 22nd, Public Health Sudbury District announced a new location for mass immunization clinics in Espanola. Effective June 23rd, all mass immunization clinics will take place at Espanola High School. This is the first school site being used by Public Health for clinics. There may be more over the summer, including Manitoulin Secondary School. As the case counts went down, the number of vaccines went up, which is the teeter-totter we want to see. Based on data from Public Health Sudbury District as of 4 p.m. on June 22nd, 2021, 162,769 doses were administered in their service area. This includes all vaccinations delivered by Public Health of Sudbury District and its primary caregivers, or primary partners rather. Pharmacy vaccinations are not included in the Public Health Administration efforts, but are represented in the population coverage. 74.5% of the residents 18 plus have received their first dose, and 24.9% are fully immunized. Provincially, these figures are 80.3% and 24.6% respectively. As of June 22nd, 43.2% of 12 to 17-year-olds had received their first dose. On Wednesday, June 23rd, I sent a message to all staff about vaccines. The province values the important role that all educators and support staff play in keeping students and families safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. The government recently announced a plan to accelerate second dose eligibility of vaccines, inclusive of education staff. All Ontarians who received their first dose of an mRNA COVID-19 vaccine on or before May 9th are now eligible to book or rebook their second dose appointment at a shortened interval. Starting the week of June 28th, the days in sequence are to be confirmed. All Ontarians age 18 and over who have received their first dose of an mRNA COVID-19 vaccine will be eligible to book their second dose appointment. The appointment will be scheduled at least 28 days after the first dose per the recommended interval. Education staff who received their first dose of AstraZeneca vaccine are also eligible to receive a second dose of COVID-19 vaccine at the interval of 8 to 12 weeks with informed consent. This can include a second dose of AstraZeneca or an mRNA vaccine. With continuous improvements in key indicators, the province announced on Thursday, June 24th, that it is moving forward in the roadmap to reopen a few days ahead of schedule. Step 2 will take effect on Wednesday, June 30th, and we will now all be able to get our haircut, including yours truly. In order to enter Step 2 of the roadmap, Ontario needed to have vaccinated 70% of adults with 1 dose and 20% with 2 doses for at least 2 weeks, ensuring a strong level of protection against COVID-19. On Friday, June 25th, we advised our parents and guardians that all summer learning programs in July must run virtually. We had hoped to welcome children into our schools for face-to-face programming. Our virtual program last summer was highly regarded by parents for its engaging platform and excellent staff to student ratio. Students will receive small group instruction and one-on-one conferencing throughout the day. Our highly skilled staff will meet students where they are and move their learning forward in reading and math. For many students at this time, staying connected with others is also so important to their mental well-being. Our focus is not only to provide academic programming, but to engage children in a positive and fun way through the virtual format. The summer learning program will take place from July 5th to July 23rd. On Saturday, June 26th, we shared an important message from Public Health with all staff. Starting Monday, June 28th at 8 a.m., anyone aged 18 and over in the Sudbury and Manitoulin districts who received their first dose of an mRNA, that's Pfizer, BioNTech, or Moderna vaccine, will be eligible to book an appointment to receive their second dose ahead of schedule. On June 24th, Public Health expanded second dose eligibility for its walk-in clinics to anyone age 18 and over who received their first dose of vaccine more than 21 days ago. That's the Pfizer, BioNTech, or 28 days ago for Moderna. Anyone who received AstraZeneca 56 days ago, which is at least 8 weeks, and who wishes to receive an mRNA vaccine is currently able to book their second dose. To ensure maximum protection against COVID-19 and the Delta variant, anyone 18 and over should attend a walk-in clinic or, beginning on Monday, book their second dose as soon as possible. To support a safe return to school in September, the province will be looking to accelerate second dose appointments bookings for youth aged 12 to 17. Public Health will share more information on how to book a second dose for this age group in the coming weeks. On Monday, June 28th, we sent our final letter of the year to parents and guardians. We look forward to reopening Rainbow Schools on Tuesday, September 7th, and welcoming students back for in-person learning. With vaccination rates increasing and case counts decreasing, we are optimistic about the upcoming school year. After we receive guidance from the Ministry of Education, which we anticipate by late July, we will update our reopening guide and share information with families. We expect that students will attend in person. In exceptional circumstances, if a student is not able to attend in person as a result of personal health concerns, a remote learning program will be considered. There will be an opportunity to make such requests through a survey at a later date. Of course, we thanked our families for their support throughout the 2020-2021 school year. We wish parents and guardians and children a restful and safe summer. With tremendous pride, Rainbow District School Board is pleased to pay tribute to the 2020 and 2021 recipients of board awards, as well as employees with 25 and 35 years of service. Please join me in extending to them our deepest gratitude and sincere congratulations. Together, they provide a wonderful example of how we bring our vision, mission, and values to life for the benefit of the students in our care. The tribute has been posted on the board website. We are also working on a tribute to the 2020-2021 retirees of Rainbow District School Board. This booklet will be distributed to retiring staff members this summer. Of course, we will ensure our retirees are invited to the retirement dinner when it is safe for us to gather again. In closing, I would like to share with you a message that I shared with staff. And as we welcome summer and say goodbye to another school year, I would like to thank you for working together to keep everyone safe. When we reopened last fall, we didn't quite know how the school year would unfold. We were, after all, in uncharted waters. And like any good navigator, we were well prepared. We followed expert guidance developed detailed procedures, communicated our plan to families, and set sail. While we had to retreat to safe harbors along the way, we didn't let any bad weather dampen our spirits. We stayed the course and remained steadfast in our determination to reach our destination. Now, we can see the shore on the horizon. And as we look ahead to the 2021-2022 school year, our optimism for a return to some sense of normalcy is greater than ever as vaccine rates go up and case counts come down. Between now and then, however, it's time for a well-deserved break. You have been one exceptional crew, flexible, adaptable, patient, kind, caring, compassionate, creative, courageous, respectful, and above all, resilient. In a school year like no other. You have been a great role model for students. I'm most grateful for your support. Have a safe summer. In closing, I would like to thank our students and families for joining us on this fantastic voyage. Like our staff, they displayed a tremendous amount of resilience in a school year unlike any other. We are grateful for your patience and understanding and support. I would also like to acknowledge the Board of Trustees. Right from the start, you prioritized health and safety along with education and education along with the health and safety. We are fortunate to have a dedicated team of elected officials leading the way. This brings this evening's update to a close. I'd be pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Very sincere thank you, Director Blazik. And I am still having difficulty, but I do see Trustee Cosmerly, Trustee Gibson. Trustee Cosmerly, would you go ahead, please?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you, Director Blazik, for navigating us through the hard waters that everyone had to go through this year. You made the journey so much easier, I think, for all of us with all of your hard work. So I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you for that.
If I could just respond just to that one piece, though, I just want to ensure that, although I appreciate the accolade, it's the group that's with me here today that should take a lot of the credit. They made this the journey much smoother. So I clap my hands to the folks that are in this room and all the other support staff we have. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. Through to you to Director Blazik. Thank you very much for the report, Director Blazik. I'm curious about a couple of things. First of all, the new math curriculum in high school. You said there's no choice between academic and applied. That's rolled into one. Are we still, it's two parts to this question. First of all, are we still offering locally developed courses? And second of all, what do the class sizes look around these new blended classrooms? As you know, or for those listening, academic classes are usually a lot more numerous than our applied classes. So I'm just curious about the class size, if we're meeting in the middle or if that's been mandated by the ministry. Thank you.
To allow Superintendent Noble to speak to that.
Thank you, Trustee Gibson. As to your first question, we are still able to run locally developed classes. But what we're trying to do is use these courses as bridge courses. We do know that some of our students in elementary school do have modified program and they are not quite ready for D-stream math content, so we are going to look to using locally developed class to bridge from elementary school into the D-stream math class, but we do anticipate that they will eventually be in grade 9 D-stream mathematics. As for the class cap is 26 in our D-streamed mathematics curriculum.
Okay, thank you. And that's a cap, not an average, correct?
That is a class cap, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a second question through you, Chair Dewitt, I think to Director Blazek, regarding the letter at the end there that was sent out, I believe, yesterday to parents, just regarding the remote learning piece. So I don't have the letter in front of me, but I believe it said something like, in exceptional circumstances, it will be considered. And it's my understanding that the ministry has said that boards will be continued to be required to offer remote learning options consistent with PPM 164. As we all know, that's quite specific. So I was just wondering how that was going to work. If you could comment on the wording of that letter and what it means for remote learning in September.
At this time, it is indeed what it is stated. It's based on, there has to be an exceptionality. When I say exceptionality, it could be a medical, or it could be some other concern or challenge. We are awaiting the ministry's position later this month, which they're going to clearly define what the expectation is, and that is why we have not sent out the survey. The ministry has indicated to us that they will be doing it later in the month of July. And so to be fair to the community, we're waiting for that explanation to come forward. There is lots of interpretation going forward, and right now we would expect, or we are hoping, as many as possible students are returning to in person, as most public health districts are encouraging that, as we are, because that is the best way for our students to learn. The whole issue of choice will be clearly defined by the ministry much later this month, and we will make sure that we disseminate that information in the survey.
Thank you, Director Blazek. Supplementary, if I may. Has the ministry then indicated that, because that's in the policy memorandum that was set out, it's very clear that they use the word require, and they mention the policy program memorandum, which, as I said, is very specific. Have they indicated that they will be withdrawing that, or just that they will be creating conditions around it? If you could just elaborate. Thank you.
Again, they're going to clarify what that entails. I will tell you at this point, as you currently understand it, that the month of July there is no face-to-face, but for the month of August there is, and it is very much a very fluid situation, and until we get the exact support or the recommendations from the whether it's the Chief Medical Officer for Ontario or some clarity from Public Health Sudbury District, those are the active players that are going to influence our decision going forward, not only at a provincial level but also at the local level.
Thank you.
Once again, I thank you very much, Director Blazek, for that update. I look forward to the day when we don't have to have that kind of update from our director. But I thank you very much for all that you've done, and for especially for the staff that have seen this through with such perseverance. Thank you. Tenders and requests for proposals, there are none. Excuse me. Reports and recommendations from board committees, the 2021-2022 budget. Superintendent Bazinet.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. There are no updates this evening. The draft presentation that was given on June 8th stands without any new information being made available. Thank you.
I thought maybe you had received word that we had an increase in funding.
Hopefully that information will come through just as other clarifications come through towards the end of July.
Yeah, we won't hold our breath for that one, but anyway. So, motion that the Rainbow District School Board 2021-2022 budget be approved. Moved by, and once again, I have a blank screen.
Bob C.
Trustee Cosmley put her hand up first, and then I saw Trustee Stringer, and then Trustee Clement, and then me. So make your choice.
Trustee Cosmley, and then seconded by Trustee Stringer. Thank you very much, Trustee Morrison. Are there any other questions about the budget before we vote on the motion?
Trustee Gibson?
Trustee Gibson, thank you.
I can go ahead? Yeah, sorry.
Yes, please.
So I wasn't sure if you could see me, so I was just saying that I went to ask a question. Thank you very
I
much. Through you to Superintendent Bazinet, I'm concerned about what's not included in this budget. At the budget meeting, Trustee Morrison asked about funding for a superintendent. Apparently we're down one superintendent, and she was asking about whether there was funding in the budget for that, and the answer was no. And then I asked you about remote learning, and there's no funding for that if that's something that required. And as it stands at the moment, I mean, it is required unless there's some change in July. But obviously our elementary students are not as on a course to be vaccinated by September at this stage, unless something happens very quickly. And yet we're still running a deficit. So if we had to add those things on, I'm concerned with the size of that deficit. So can you just comment on our accumulated reserve and how long we can sustain having these sorts of budget deficits if we continue to run at the same level? Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent Bazinet.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Essentially, as part of the presentation on June 8th, it was stated that our projections for August of 2022 is that we would have a balance of 5.3 million in our reserve. And once again, I think we have to take a moment and reflect on the fact that we actually go through 3 financial cycles. This is the first, which is the budget estimates that occur in the month of June for the upcoming fiscal year or school year. And then once we see some actual enrollment in October, we do our revised budget, which is submitted to the ministry by the end of December. And then, of course, once the year wraps up, we have our financials based on a year end of August. If we look at the historical pattern for the Rainbow Board, we can see that at the actual year end, essentially for the past 4 to 5 years, we essentially have not been drawing down the reserves. We've been adding to the reserves. So I think we need to take that into context. The other piece is that the 1% allowance in terms of compliance from the ministry is there for a reason, in that when you're preparing the budget in June, there are numerous predictions and estimations both on the fact of enrollment, revenues, as well as expenses. So I think we have to not read into the fact that just because at this time of the year the projection of the deficit is there, is once enrollment comes in the month of October, it gives us a better state of information for the enrollment, particularly elementary. And at that moment in time, we also get some better actual costs in terms of total staffing, particular teacher staffing. I just wanted to make the comment on the fact that when we talked about the remote learners, and the fact that we don't have any permanent staff assigned for remote learning. However, there is a PPF that is part of the COVID supports for next year that would allow for some additional staffing supports. Our amount that was stated to us was just 2.2 million for additional supports for potentially a REVS remote learning school, just like we did this year. So there's a bit of a contingency on that front. In terms of actual staffing for superintendent, well, basically all that was said is it's not part of the personnel complement. And once again, is the board has the ability and flexibility to redirect revenues if that were something that needed to be contemplated as we moved into the next fiscal year and our revised budget. Thank you.
Thank you, and supplementary, if I may, through you, Chair Dewar, to Superintendent Basnet. Do you know how much it costs to run the REVS, the remote elementary virtual school? Do you have that figure isolated, or?
I don't have the figure isolated. I know that we did have to do a number of adjustments throughout the current fiscal year, in that Superintendent Bourget needed to reassign some personnel from the various schools, and we did use the additional PPF dollars to supplement, particularly for the teaching staff. But I don't have an account of what it costs for the remote learning school. It could be brought forward when we do the presentation at year end.
Thank you. And just one last supplementary, through you, Chair Dewar, to Superintendent Basnet again. Are you concerned, you did present the budget with a decrease in elementary enrollment and an increase in secondary enrollment. I'm just wondering if you're concerned at all that our enrollment may be even lower in the elementary panel, especially considering that we may be making remote learning harder to access in September. It sounds like there might be more stringent reasoning applied there in the decision-making process. So have you considered that that may also impact our elementary enrollment come September?
Through you, Madam Chair. Of course, enrollment is one of the major risk factors that we face when we're preparing this budget. And naturally, there are concerns always with the values that we finally land on. The enrollment is done through collaboration with the schools. And I think that what has been presented is reasonable in nature. Hopefully it's too conservative and we see an actual increase come September of this year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? Okay, I will call the question then. We have a mover and a seconder, and there's a motion on the floor, right?
That's correct.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Director Blazek.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Duboski?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
Is that Trustee Dewar? Yes, in favor.
Trustee Gibson?
Opposed.
Trustee Honda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean is absent. Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
Carried.
The motion is carried. I believe the next item is new business, request for leave of absence motion that Carrie St. Jean be granted a leave of absence from the June 29th, 2021 board meeting. Moved by, oh, I'm sorry, I don't see anybody.
I'll move it. It's Tina.
Trustee Morrison.
Trustee Gibson, seconded.
Seconded by Trustee Gibson. Director Blazek.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Duboski?
In favor.
Trustee Dewar?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Honda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee Morrison?
In favor.
Trustee St. Jean is absent. Trustee Stringer?
In favor.
Carried.
The motion is carried. Director's remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On Thursday, June 24th, with the revelation of 751 unmarked graves at the Maryville Indian Indian Residential School run by the Roman Catholic Church. All RDSB facilities were instructed to lower all flags immediately and continuously until Monday, July 5th at all RDSB facilities. It goes without saying that we must travel a long way to rebuild our relationship with our First Nations peoples. It is incumbent upon us to reach out and create the conditions to earn that trust. And every day, we must put into action what we print or what we say. Our truth and reconciliation commitment to action must be actioned every day. We owe it to the children in the unmarked graves. We owe it to the mums and dads, sisters and brothers, grandmas and grandpas that were unable to see their sibling, son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson come home. Let's ensure that the truth and reconciliation articles come to fruition, more specifically under missing and burial information, Articles 71 through 83, that specifically address residential schools and children buried in our marked graves. Let's ensure that Rainbow shows the humanity that is necessary and that is required as a result of the missing children. Secondly, we are hopeful that we will have many of our facilities open pending the stage 2 and 3 thresholds being met. It is critical that we engage our youth with engaged activities wherever possible. Many of our fields will be in use this summer, and we hope our dome will be accessed starting in August. As it relates to the dome, we are really excited as the chain rooms are complete and we are ready to facilitate all kinds of programming for students, school sports teams, and of course the community. And finally, as noted earlier, I would be remiss if I did not thank all of our staff, both here at the Ed Center and at all of our schools. A year like no other, pivot, remote, pandemic, restrictions, physical distancing, mask, etc. All words and phrases, I hope, are behind us. What I do want to hear is the laughter of children, the encouragement of staff, the support of parents, and of course, admin and trustees and the ministry doing whatever it takes to create normal. And again, thank you to Bruce, Judy, Kathy, Dennis, Nicole, Cindy, and Mike, and of course, Heather, for making these board meetings work and for making the Ed Center a fabulous place to engage and work with our trustees and to lead our staff and students. I hope all of you have a wonderful summer, and with any luck, the next time we meet, it will be without the aid of masks. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much, Director Blazik. OBSPA Director, Trustee Clement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. June 11th, we met in virtually, of course. We started off our meeting as usual with Council Chair Elaine Johnson from Algoma gave an acknowledgement that participants in the meeting were connected to the meetings from numerous traditional territories, but with that, she also spoke to the recent discovery of the remains of 215 children. And since then, like we have heard, the other 751 children. And like we all spoke there on, just like what Norm just spoke about, that our hearts go out and we will support anything that will help us move forward. Also, Trustee Corinne Rahman of the Thames Valley also spoke of the recent act of Islamophobic hate in London that resulted in the loss of 4 members of the Muslim family and a 9-year-old orphan. Just so sad to start the meeting that way. Tana Turner has been hired a consultant group to provide updates on the ongoing equity, diversity, inclusion audit of OSPA. We're all being questioned and where we can move forward in a more progressive way on all of these subjects. Of course, everything's online also again. We talked about the education policies and programs issues, labor relations, education funding, the GSN's tours and transportation, Indigenous education, legislative updates, it's all there. One thing to note, the Northern Boards brought this up to OSPA. I think one thing that's come out of this pandemic is that the Northern Boards, for once, seems to have found a really good way to meet without a whole lot of expense. And it's working out very well for us virtually. And we've asked for future directors meetings other than the PES and the AGM where we could attend. But we've asked for a part of their meetings, and if they're going to get the meeting going down south, that we be virtual here in the north and make it available for people who want to be virtual. And I guess for a lot of the smaller boards, it would be a real boon because it's quite an expense. Plus, some of the really Western boards, it's a 2-day trip for them just to get to Toronto. They don't have an airport close or anything like this here, so they're going to look into that for us, and that's where we're at. So thank you very much.
I thank you very much, Trustee Clement. Student Trustee Ava LaFrance.
Yeah, I don't have any updates. Our last meeting was, we just kind of discussed our plan to meet up in August, and if regulations allow us to, just to kind of say goodbye to everybody in person, but that is all.
Okay. I'd just like to take this opportunity to add a thank you, a personal thank you to you, Student Trustee Ava LaFrance, for your efforts this past year. It's not been easy, and I wish you sunshine and rainbows in your future endeavors. Thank you very much again. Trustees' remarks.
Trustee.
I have a pen ready. I actually see some of you now.
Oh.
So if you put your hands up, Trustee Clement, Trustee Cosmerly, Trustee Gibson, Trustee Hunda, and Trustee Morrison. Thank you. Trustee Clement.
Hang on, I just want to make a quick comment. I want to thank the staff, the principals and the staffs at the schools for the virtual graduations that they did, and the way they were set up, and the kids all got to have their pictures. There's one right across the street with me with a big sign right on her lawn, and I saw her there one day, and I said, do you want me to hear my speech for graduation? She said, no, thank you. Well, thank you. Also today, I got invited to the high school, just an impromptu goodbye to some of the staff that are leaving this summer, which is really breaking part of the old staff that we had. Dean Riggs, Gabby Ramir, Henry Gerard, and Tony Yachuk, who've been there, and I've known them forever. And they're part of a big family. And it's a kind of, they live in town, and it's kind of that's some of the stuff we've been talking about before, where we're going to have transient staff, and you just wish that moving in that they would grab roots and stay in the area, and that's what makes for a great staff at the Espanola High School. So I just went there to thank them, and they made a little award for them. Remember the old bleachers they had there? They still have some of the boards, and they're great shops that they have there. They made plaques of the boards that said the year they were there, and they was all carved out with a Spartan head, and it was really nice to see. It was really well done. So that was it for me today. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Trustee Clement. I have Trustee Cosmerly.
I think a lot of us are going to be giving congratulations. I wanted to congratulate the students, all students, for getting through a difficult year, and congratulate especially the graduates. And I too wanted to thank the teachers, the principals, the school staff who went over and above to make this a special year. In terms of the graduations, they really did a good job to make sure all students felt special. Great graduations, really, really great. So that's all I wanted to say. So congratulations, everyone.
Good to hear that. Thank you very much, Trustee Cosmerly. I have Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. I wanted to recognize the staff and students of Larchwood Public School who have been participating for many years in the Royal Canadian Legion's Remembrance Day Literary and Poster Contest. All students in grades 1 through 6 produce at least one poster or a literary submission, and the teacher lead for this contest is Karen Dumont. She is the CERT and music teacher at Larchwood, and Ms. Dumont works with the classroom teachers to ensure that all students produce something that they are proud of. Many students have won prizes over the years, and this year Ella Curtis has placed second at the national level for her beautiful colour poster, which is now hanging on the walls of the Parliament building in Ottawa. So congratulations to Ella Curtis and everyone at Larchwood Public School, and thank you to the Royal Canadian Legion for offering this wonderful opportunity. Thank you. And I'll just add there was a virtual round of applause for everyone that can't see.
No mic on, Doreen.
Oh, thank you very much, Trustee Morrison. Trustee Hunda, thank you very much. Trustee Gibson, Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess it's going to get a little tiresome, but I too want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone from Director Blazek, who we know this has been his last but probably most difficult year ever. Certainly our 3 superintendents that we work so hard, all the staff in the Education Center, all the staff throughout our boards. None of this could have been possible without them. I'm so incredibly proud to be a part of this board. I want to thank everyone too. I ran around today, was computer equipment return day. So I got the opportunity to stop off at a couple of schools and have the children go in, say their goodbyes and drop off their equipment. And I got to say goodbye and wish, the staff a good and happy summer, which they all relay to all of us. And I promised them that I would relay that to all of you this evening. And I had it last year, as you well know. One of my grandchildren was a COVID grad from grade 8. This year I have another one, and if everyone can see, I'm very proud. I don't know if you can see it or not. Can you? No. Oh, wait. There we go.
There we go.
Congratulations to my Noah White Duck, who is graduating from Princess Anne. And I want to thank, I was next door at my old house, and I heard all this. I had the kids with me, and we heard all this beeping and yelling and music, and these cars pulled up, and it was the McLeod Public School staff, and they had come to do their little graduation thing with the little girl that is very, very dear to my heart. They're here. Their parents are here with working visas from Saudi Arabia. And it was just so touching. The parents were beside themselves with what the school had done and what we have done for their children. And I was in tears, clearly. Love these little people. So I was able to get some of that on video for them. So it really makes a difference. All the hard work, and I want our staff to know that all the hard work you do, really, truly, those are the things. The academics, that will work out. But it's the personal things, the things that make the kids feel special and matter. And I think everyone has gone way out of their way to do that. And I want to thank them all for that. And to all of you, I hope we all deserve, I think, some downtime. A little bit different this year for us, for sure. But may everyone have a safe and happy summer, and hopefully, I think a number of us are now fully vaccinated. I got mine on Sunday. Judy, I heard you got yours today. So if we can keep going like this, maybe we can meet again, because I'm a people person. I prefer that. And hopefully we can all get back to normal very, very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Hunda. We're with you on that. I have Trustee Morrison and then Trustee Stringer and then Trustee DeBoski. Trustee DeBoski, yes. Trustee Morrison is next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to make the same kind of comments that we've heard from the other trustees. I think it's important. And as opposed to apologize for being redundant, I think you can never thank people too many times. So I want to start with thanking Director Blasek and Norm. Thank you for not just hanging in there with us for another year to get us through this. We really, really appreciate this. Your leadership is evident in all the good things all our staff are doing every day. And the other thing it's done is that you are walking the talk, as are all the people in that room with you. So I'm thanking the entire Exec Council and everybody who's working at the Ed Center, because we are actually walking the talk. And so are the trustees, by the way. We're expecting our teachers and our students and families to adapt and go online and then in person and back and forth and pivot. Well, we are doing the same thing. And if we can, and all of us, we've kept our complaining about it to a minimum, given the fact, and I'm very proud of all of us for doing that. That's basically, if we're expecting our students and staff to do this, we can do this. And we've led by example. And that's primarily because of the leadership of the people who support us, who are sitting at that board table right now. So thank you all very much. I too want to thank the principals, the vice principals, the other administrators, our teachers, our EAs, our Aboriginal support workers, our cleaning custodian staff, or even our bus drivers who don't work for us directly, they work for the bus companies. But the fact is that we're all part of a continuum of support for kids that got our kids through this year. And that's no small thing. And particularly when I think about the staff who, as we know, most of our staff are of an age where many of them have children. So they were dealing with a whole lot of personal challenges as well as professional challenges this year, balancing both the delivery of quality education to their students, either in class or remotely, or both at the same time. I'll leave that discussion for another day. But at the same time, they're also balancing family needs and their own children's learning needs. They may also be supporting an elderly parent. There's been a lot of demands. And I think, Director Blasek, you said it best. I'm really impressed by the resiliency that's been demonstrated and the commitment to our kids. And I can't thank people enough, so I just add my voice to every other trustee who's spoken on this issue, and we're never going to stop thanking them as far as I'm concerned. Yes, we hope we don't have to go through a similar year again, but the fact of the matter, they've already proven that they're able to do whatever is asked of them. And because of all of their collective work, and I think of just even the health and safety changes that were implemented this year, for everybody, and that's all of the staff that work in the school, our cleaning and custodian staff. We've had to adapt, and they have done so. And as a result, here we are at the end of the school year, and everybody remained relatively safe. So thank everyone for their role in doing that and providing that continuing support to our kids. Thank you.
I think that's an excellent point you made. Many excellent points. Trustee Morrison, thank you. Trustee Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to begin by congratulating and echoing the comments of my colleagues in congratulations to all the graduates across the board. Congratulations to all the students who made it through and survived these last 15 months, really. But also to the folks, Exec Council. I mean, I could go on and on. I think of our psychometrists and psychologists who have, in the mental health field, who have seen how tough this has been. So huge thanks going out there. I also wanted to thank our communities and the way they pulled together. And I'm sure it was the same in your regions as on Manitoulin, where we have very diverse communities. And each one in their own way pulled together with the schools to ensure that things were the best they could be for our students. It was wonderful to see. And yesterday I had the opportunity to tag along behind one of the grad buses. that left Manitoulin Secondary School around 1:30 in the afternoon, and there were 4 buses heading in different directions around the island. And at 1:30, we proceeded along Bidwell for a little while. Then we were off to on deck on Conning, visiting homes and students, loaded down with banners, megaphones, balloons, gifts. Of course, our balloons broke along the highway that were attached to our cars, and arrived in Little Current. Saw graduates and families throughout Little Current, then off to Shegwinda, the town of Shegwinda, and Shegwinda First Nation, then off to Manitowoc. And from Manitowoc, we headed off to, I don't know if you know of Clover Valley and the Leskings Shorelines subdivision. Beautiful, never been out there, a long way out. And arrived back around 5:30 with a group of very tired but excited staff that just loved the opportunity to see their graduates and say goodbye and celebrate with them. So that was a real thrill for me, and I thank all those folks who did that organization. I was only on one of the 4 buses, so I'm sure they would have all loved to have done that throughout the island, and probably people in the Sudbury region felt the same way. Safe holidays to everyone, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Margaret. That's wonderful reporting. Thank you. Trustee Dubosky.
Thank you, Chair Dewar. I too echo the words and wisdom of my colleagues in sharing their accolades to all involved. I too share the same sentiment, and more importantly, I'd like to acknowledge the families through this pandemic. Without the commitment of the grandparents, of parents, of aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, our students alone with an online teacher would not be successful, and I'd like to acknowledge that, acknowledge them. I'd like to acknowledge the learning pods that have been self-created by families in looking at innovative ways of learning at home and supporting multi-families in their learning pods. I acknowledge them as well. I acknowledge our First Nation communities for going above and beyond any education service agreement with Rainbow District School Board and committing additional investments into the learning opportunities for our First Nation learners. I acknowledge the work of our Indigenous lead, who's never acknowledged in a superintendent realm, but I do acknowledge the work of our Indigenous lead, Kathy Dokis, who has also been supported by Nicole Nicholas Byer. I acknowledge their work as well. They've maintained a connection to First Nations, which is absolutely critical in a COVID-19 pandemic. I acknowledge the students for their work, their perseverance, their dedication through a time that they have never known. They've had to be resilient. They've had to be flexible. They've had to really work hard, and to acknowledge that some families have their own struggles, but yet they made sure that their children, attended school or made alternative arrangements. And so acknowledging, of course, the staff, all those mentioned, the hard work, the dedication, the new online principal, dedicated for these efforts, and all those online teachers. I know how complicated it is to be able to teach in that method, and it's just really amazing what we've grown to learn, and how some of those things will continue on post-pandemic. Ultimately, I acknowledge the board's work and efforts as trustees, and I share the same sentiments as the Director of Education, that health and safety have always been paramount. I acknowledge the board's attempted safety planning protocols that were initially rejected by the ministry. That shows that dedication and courage to do something different for the health and safety of all of our students. Of course, to our janitors, to our food prep people, to every supportive person. We could not have a successful year without anybody. And so I give all credit to all those involved. I wanted to share with the board I appreciate the support I received from the board and Chair Doer and the staff involved with assisting in creating the words I shared at the strategic planning meeting. As part of our leadership table on Manitoulin, the United Chiefs and Councils of Manitoulin, our tribal chair issued on our behalf a statement, a very public statement, as a result of the horrendous discoveries and in relation to the Canada Day celebrations. Why I wanted to share that is because both her and I faced tremendous hate mail as a result of the words we shared. Most of you would probably not get that, but I wanted to share with you that actually happens, to be subjected to such hate mail, to such discrimination, to such violent words. To the extent, me personally, I no longer answer unknown calls on my cell phone and allow that to go to voicemail due to the extreme violence that I've faced. And although this sounds hurtful, this sounds horrendous, sadly, it is something I am used to, and so is most First Nation leadership when we start to talk about things such as these. I acknowledge the leadership on Manitoulin Island who for the most part have delayed or canceled Canada Day celebrations on Manitoulin to stand in solidarity with our First Nations communities. Our First Nations communities are reeling from the devastation where it's re-traumatized and reopened old wounds that families are now dealing with today. And why this is important to Rainbow District School Board is that when a family suffers, the children suffer as well. And our educators are then faced with, working to support students who face these types of traumas. And so when I look to my role as trustee, I have great hope for this board, and being part of it is both difficult, it's conflicting at times. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just a token Indian around this board, and I have to work through those feelings, although I don't personally feel that from each of my colleague trustees. Those are feelings that I have based on experience and the slow process of creating systemic change for the improvement of the delivery of education for all students. And so when I think about the words I shared at the strategic planning meeting in terms of meaningful reconciliation, I think to a former mentor of mine and former Anishinaabe Nation Grand Chief Patrick Madabi, where he referred to reconciliation as reconciliation. And that's the key word, the verb word of it is the action part. And for Rainbow District School Board, I'm truly inspired and I'm truly proud of the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action document and the commitment of our board. However, this cannot remain just words on paper to make our board look good. We need to do the work. And sometimes I feel that perhaps fear leads us sometimes. Fear leads us to avoid change. Fear leads us to avoid difficult conversations. And I've always made myself available to those who want to ask questions directly in a safe space to do so. I'm here to help. I'm here to inform. I'm here to, try to make those difficult conversations a bit more easier. And when I think about these things once in a while, and I work with different individuals of the board and trustees as well, I think about a quote from the Dalai Lama, and his quote is, "When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know, but if you listen, you may learn something new." And that speaks volumes and can be interpreted and reflected on and meditated on in many different ways. So with that being said, I really do encourage our trustees, our superintendents, those who have the high-ranking power within our system, within the structure, that we are responsible for that change We are responsible for that growth forward in a good way. And we need to really reflect on these things and reflect on how we're going to do that. And to also reflect upon the intergenerational trauma endured by our Indigenous communities, our students, and our families as I would say, as a legacy of the residential school era, as that has multi-generational impacts. And in addition to that intergenerational trauma, our non-Indigenous allies, our schoolmates, our co-workers also have that trauma as well. We now carry the burden of what has been done in the past, and we need to, look at that balanced approach and to be able to work together in a good way. And sometimes we do continue to be a participant in an archaic systemic structure. And I do know that a lot of these rules and regulations come directly from the province. And many of these can be seen as rooted in practices of assimilation on language until those reforms are made. And perhaps as a board, we look at in the future how we advance advocacy to the province and to help support rebuilding. We do need to do more. We need to go beyond hanging up dream catchers and nice posters and rocking some moccasins. We need to look at a deeper understanding and a deeper value and a deeper and more productive process. Are based on, as I stated earlier, the hate, the response to some of the words we share demonstrates that racism continues to exist and is real. Although silent in some ways, there is a lot of vocal as well. And those are the things we need to address. So truth requires an honest inventory, of what we have, what we're doing, and a real look at how we continue to operate within a system that systemically discriminates against Indigenous children today. We need the truth in our data reporting as an intentional effort, the intentional effort I spoke about at the last meeting, to affect that real change, a change that we can be proud of, knowing that it will be hard, knowing that we will face racism as we continue on. But what battles racism is knowledge, speaking truth to power, being honest and gentle about the way we do it. That's how we're going to get through this, and we can only get through this together. I'm only one Indigenous voice around this table in a colonized world, but I certainly do appreciate the efforts of all of my fellow trustees, the encouragement, the advocacy. I know we can do more, and I am very hopeful that the year ahead, we put this pandemic behind us and really focus on the things that mean the most for all of our students, so that when they too are leaders, when they too are in these seats we sit in, that they will be continuing on in a kind way, in a good way, to promote the sustainability of essentially a good life for all people. So with that, I say Chimigwach for listening. Thank you.
And I thank you very much, Trustee Dubowski. I thank each of the trustees for their sharing the highlights and the difficulties that this past year has forced us to deal with. Are there any other? Okay. So I would like to, excuse me, I would like to have a few remarks. We'll move on to chairperson's remarks. And I get to repeat an awful lot of what I guess has already been said, but I agree with Trustee Morrison that we can't say it often enough. This is the last board meeting of the school year, a school year unlike any other. But it has been a year that has made me truly grateful. I want to begin my remarks by remarks by acknowledging the dedication of all our staff. You moved mountains to ensure teaching and learning continued amidst the backdrop of a global pandemic. And you did it with a sense of purpose and passion for your respective professions. Regardless of the ask or the task, our board and school administrators, teachers, support staff, administration and maintenance staff, custodians and cleaners kept calm and carried on. Your efforts were nothing short of Herculean, and for that, I'm truly grateful. I would also like to acknowledge our students and families. You were called upon to adapt to a new reality over an extended period of time, not a few days, not a few weeks, but many, many months. In all of the twists and turns, you demonstrated patience, understanding, flexibility, and resiliency. And for that, I am truly grateful. We saw Rainbow District School Board's strength and tenacity throughout the pandemic. Supportive parents and guardians worked together with caring educators and support staff to remain focused on the well-being and education of students, whether learning at home or at school. And I would like to take a moment to salute our graduates and the innovative graduation celebrations organized by schools to pay tribute to the class of 2021. Congratulations to all of you. Once again, you have made us proud. In closing, I'm looking ahead to the new school year with hope and optimism. We know more today than we did yesterday. And with vaccine rates climbing, I'm confident September will be greeted with a greater sense of normalcy. But we are also stronger today than we were yesterday. And so I'm confident that we can and will create our own new normalcy. For now, it's time to catch our breath and enjoy some rest and relaxation. May our Rainbow community have a healthy and happy summer. It's time to rejuvenate. The thought for the day comes from Oprah Winfrey, who said, "Lots of people want to ride with you in the limo. But what you want is someone who will take the bus with you when the limousine breaks down." I have learned that in Rainbow District School Board, we have lots of people who will not only take the bus, they will work to repair the limo. And for that, I am truly grateful. Reports from officials and staff. We have the Parent Involvement Committee, the First Nations, and a second Parent Involvement, two Parent Involvement Committee minutes, and the First Nations Committee minutes. I also draw your attention to non-staff communications. There's an email from the Coalition for a Livable Sudbury regarding Laurentian University green space. And I had hoped that we would take a look at that. And Trustee Morrison?
I believe, Madam Chair, that the letter is referring to the fact that there's some concern about the selling off, basically, of public lands that are associated with Laurentian University, and the fact that they're now in that bankruptcy process, basically, and there's a lot of concern that that land is going to be sold off to the highest bidder, which will limit access for the public to publicly paid for lands. And so I believe what that email to you as our chair was asking for was a letter of support. And I'd like to move that we write a letter in support of that position. Thank you. I'd just like to get it on the floor to see if we have consensus to write a letter in support. Thank you. I'll move it.
Thank you very much. Moved by Dina Morrison, seconded by Trustee Hunda. A letter of that Rainbow District School Board write a letter of support for the Laurentian University green space as per the request from the Coalition for a Livable Sudbury. How?
That's my intent. Thank you.
Heather, have you got enough there for that motion to be able to have it? Is there any discussion on that? I have a mover and a seconder.
Trustee Gibson.
Discussion. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you. So what exactly are we supporting? The concept of green space or not selling the green space? I'm just confused
okay.
what we're supporting based on the motion.
Okay. The motion is based on the letter.
Dina's,
so if you read the letter, it very clearly outlines what the position is of the Coalition for a Livable Sudbury. It clearly outlines their position, and it's asking for support.
Yes, I've read the letter. Thank you. So when you say support, they're directing us to do 3 things. Is that what you mean? Or is it just a general letter in support of green space? I'm just trying to nail down what's actually going to be written before I support it or not support it. Because obviously this process is before the courts. We are not a party to this process, so I'm just not sure of all the implications that surround writing a letter of support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Morrison.
If I could, Madam Chair, through you, my intent and clarification was, again, they were asking us for a letter of support. I'm certainly personally prepared to support it. And I thought we need to get a motion on to see if we have consensus from the majority of trustees to indicate that level of support. My concern here is the process is going to happen. My concern here is continuing access to public lands. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Stringer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as a former cross-country coach who enjoyed with our students the Ramsey Lake tours, the cross-country meets on the trails there, cross-country skiing meets, hiking the trails in the summer, and our students, and I'm speaking just from what I know of from the island that attend Laurentian University, have the opportunity to find Manitoulin on the edges of Laurentian University grounds because of those trails. So I would fully support this letter of support.
Also, for your background knowledge, the Rainbow District School Board Environmental Committee has supported this, as well as at least one of our schools is supporting this. Anyway, that's just for background. So
thank you, Chair Dewar. Sorry, I just one other question.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. Any further questions?
I believe Trustee Gibson had an additional question.
Trustee Gibson?
Thank you. So did we receive a report from that committee that you're referring to?
No, not that I know of.
Okay, and just to clarify, you're referring to public lands. Trustee Morrison, so you're referring to the land that's owned by Laurentian University? Because it's my understanding that they own it. That's why it's subject to this process. So it's not public lands as far as I know. Can you clarify that for me?
It's Laurentian lands that have been paid for by public dollars. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further questions? Trustee Cosmerly.
Sorry, just to clarify, if you go on their website, you'll see the map and you'll find all of the information. And we were all sent a copy of the letter that hopefully all of us read that would give us the background to help us in terms of making a decision here.
Any further questions? Director Blazik?
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Dabowski,
In favor.
Trustee Dewar,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
Abstain.
Trustee Honda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee Morrison,
In favor?
Trustee Stringer,
In favor.
Student Trustee LaFrance,
In favor.
carried.
The motion is carried. Thank you very much. If you check your the final item or the final second last item, future meetings, we have a board meeting August 31st and a strategic planning meeting planned for September 14th. That we do now adjourn, moved by Trustee Morrison, seconded by Trustee Honda. Have a wonderful summer, everyone.